Whoa, what a different type of chapter we got this week, huh? It's one of those chapters that's heavy on the exposition of the political aspect of the island. And so I kind of got reminded of chapters that we would get back in Dressrosa and also in Fishman Island. And it's chapters like these that are absolutely necessary for storytelling purposes, but I find that they also end up interrupting the flow and the momentum. What happened to Reitsu Sanji versus Page 1? I don't know, just keep reading. What happened to Big Mom's convenient sense of amnesia? I don't know, just keep reading. And here's the thing, I'm gonna keep reading anyway, but because it's week to week, it just makes it that much harder. We start off with Mr. Gastino, CC, Caesar Clown himself, and I was very happy to see him at first because I actually thought that this was a legit cover story, but then I read that it was a fan request, and I was like, oh, okay. Because the thing is, like, we don't know where he is. We don't know what happened to him after Whole Cake Island. He was with the Straw Hats up until the point where they decided to split up with Capone so that the groups could start making their escape. But he pretty much vanished. He disappeared from the story after that point. The scene opens up with Komurasaki, who turns out to be the shamisen player wearing that cat mask. And the thing is that we've actually seen her from the very first chapter of Wano. In chapter 909, she is the character. Now it's confirmed that she is the shamisen player, and she opens up the scene in chapter 909 when we first get introduced to the country of Wano. So because she's in charge of the curtain, I have no doubt that she will also be there in the final chapter of Wano with the shamisen to close the final act. Robin escapes the Oniwabanshu using her Shadow Clone ability, which is an ability that she's been able to use since Fishman Island. And so I feel like Oda thought that we had forgotten that she could do this. And to be honest, I actually kind of did, because she rarely uses that ability. And he's like, well, I'm just going to use it here. And what I appreciated about this chapter is that it retakes the tone of Wano, because in my opinion, the last two chapters actually felt more like Whole Cake Island chapters than they did Wano chapters. So I like how this chapter kind of like brings it home. And aside from the setting, there's different parts of this chapter where you can feel like, yeah, this is what the culture is in Wano. For example, we see Nami, Robin, and Brook having those weird dendenmushis that are a lot thinner than normal dendenmushis. They look like large pencils or pens. And then also when Robin uses her devil fruit powers to escape the Oniwabanshu, the gang is kind of confused and they're like, wait a minute, what is this? Is this ninjutsu or is this magic? And we know since Kinemon's introduction back in Punk Hazard that for the most part, the people of Wano refer to devil fruit powers as being magic. And I think that actually ties into Brook's comment in this chapter where he says like, oh, I actually had something to do here. And I think what he's going to do, and I've said this before, is that he's going to use his ghost form to scare people or to scare somebody in the castle to convince them to do something in favor of the Straw Hat Alliance. Now, we didn't really get to see a Nami and Robin reunion since she left for Whole Cake Island and returned to Wano, but it seems like they're going to be meeting up pretty soon because Shinobu and Nami were actually assigned to be Robin's bodyguards, so I don't know if they're going to show up and help her with what happened with the Shogun by the end of the chapter. In fact, if you look at the end of the chapter, I think it's very clear that Oda is setting up a Straw Hat reunion of sorts, and it's going to happen in Ibizu town. Because if you look at the end of the chapter, Robin is running away with Toko. And Toko has like this funny thing going on where she has to laugh and smile at everything. So we know that the people of Ibizu town do the same thing. So I'm pretty sure that's where she's from. And I think Robin is probably going to take her back to her hometown. And if you remember in the last chapter, Usopp, Frankie, and Law were heading to Ibizu town as well. And that's where Zoro is. So at the very least, we can expect these characters to be reunited there. Now, there's a very particular set of panels where Robin asks Orochi about Onigashima, but the frame, the panel itself, cuts away from the characters who are speaking. So I don't know like if that was like a stylistic choice by Oda or if there's something like very inappropriate going on. I don't think that's the case. My mind just went to the gutter with that one. But and then you see a ninja at the top of the ceiling spying on the conversation. So I kind of wonder how that scene is going to pay off. And I also want to know why Oda decided to cut away from the characters soon after Robin removes her mask. Or, you know, she has like the mask and she's like, dude, and then it just cuts away. So I don't know what's going on in that panel. Also, I had my suspicions before, but this chapter pretty much confirms that Kyoshido is a pretty solid dude. Like, some of the things that he says in this chapter are things that Luffy would resonate with, things that Luffy would absolutely agree with. He says, don't talk about women as if they're animals. You know, a lot of who we become depends on our upbringing. He also says, like, you know, my subordinates are essentially my family. You know, this concept of kind of like the concept of nakama. If you mess with one, or if I see them being hurt, doesn't matter who they are, how weak they are. Because remember, Sanji and Frankie beat up those fodder people. Immediately, he's like, nope, I can't let this slip. We got to call in the six, the flying six, to take care of business. So it's that sense of pride and protection that he has over these members. But even beyond that, there's a couple of panels in this chapter where you can clearly see that Kyoshido is just annoyed at what Orochi is saying. Because up until the point where Orochi mentions Kinemon and how he can come back as the leader of the 9 Scabbards, Kyoshido is nothing but face palming throughout the entire conversation. He's just like, oh my god. And then if you look at the other people too, it's just so obvious that a bunch of these subordinates don't take Orochi seriously, which in a way is kind of humorous because Orochi is actually kind of right. Also, the chapter pretty much confirms that Komurasaki is in fact Lady Hiyori, Momonosuke's sister and Odin's daughter. She says it in the chapter. She says, I am the daughter of a samurai. We know for a fact that Odin was a very strong samurai in Wano back in the day, but the biggest clue into her identity is actually her facial expression as she's hearing Orochi talk about Momonosuke and Odin. And by that I mean she looks teary-eyed. She looks like she's about to cry just thinking about her brother and father, just remembering them. So I think that's a very clear giveaway for her identity. Another thing is that Odin is dead, and I know that's kind of weird. Like, what do you mean? Like, haven't we known that Odin is dead? And the answer is yes, but I have read speculation about people thinking that the prisoner who is in the shadow, the prisoner that spit out the fish bones when Luffy arrived at the prison, there were some people saying that that prisoner could be Odin, or that was kind of like the speculation. So this chapter pretty much confirms that it can't be, because Orochi said, I literally saw Odin die in front of me. So, you know, that debunks that. However, I will say that the job of a good writer is to play with people's expectations. So it's not 100% confirmed, but there is solid evidence to suggest that Odin is dead and that Komurasaki is Hiyori. Anyway, Toko starts laughing because she's the only one being honest in that room. Orochi gets pissed, grabs his sword, his katana. He's about to kill her, and Komurasaki steps in. And I don't know if it's that Komurasaki is just really that strong, or if it's that Orochi is just weak. But regardless, that slap left a mark. Like, I would not be surprised if that slap from Komurasaki had armament hockey on it. Then again, Orochi could just be a scrub. She says, I will not bow to anyone. I will not bend my knees to anyone. And so my first thought was like, wow. Like, considering what kind of line of work she's in, that's a pretty controversial statement. I'm not trying to be mean, because maybe it's just a translation issue, but it's like maybe there was a better way of phrasing what she wanted to say. We also know for a fact that Komurasaki was very, very cruel to that old man that was falling in love with her. But, you know, the old man wasn't in the right either, because, like, I think the old man said that he had abandoned his family to be with her, and like, he was giving her all her money or something like that. But whatever. So the old man was not in the right, but then she was super, super cruel and took advantage of those feelings and then just basically lied to him. So I feel like this character moment here of her standing up to Orochi to protect somebody else, I think it's there to symbolically represent that she is in fact Odin's daughter. Because Odin seemed to be the kind of guy that, you know, also had a very strong code. The problem here, though, is that with Komurasaki, we know that there's a history of her taking advantage of people. And so character-wise, the whole thing kind of gets a little bit murky, you know, a little bit wobbly. Like, wait, what is this? Where's this coming from? Like, is she really good or is she really bad? And I think that's one of the things that Oda has proven that, you know, he loves doing, is writing characters that are not so black and white, but gray. And I think, unfortunately though, I think this does bring up the question of, like, is Oda good at writing female characters? Because some people do not appreciate the grayness, you know. Some people kind of want their characters more clear-cut. So I leave that question up to you. If you want my personal opinion about this whole thing, I think he struggles. I think he really does struggle with writing compelling female characters. Like, it's a lot of work for him. Like, I could tell that this is not something that comes easy to him. But just because he struggles with it doesn't mean that he can't do it. So even though I know that it's hard for him, I have seen him write compelling female characters. Nami and Robin being two very clear examples of that. So the Shogun goes into his Zoan form, the Yamata no Orochi model, and you can tell which one is the main head because it has a crown and the top knot, right? So it's the one in the middle. But here's the thing, like usually when we see these characters use their devil fruit powers for the first time, Oda usually gives us like a little text that says the name of the fruit and then the model. And we don't get that in Orochi's case. So I'm thinking for him it would be something like dragon, mythical Zoan type, 8-headed snake model, or something like that, but we don't get that, and so I thought that was interesting. And then the more we learn about Orochi as a character in this, the more I get the feeling that he's going to end up being Usopp's opponent for the arc. Orochi to me seems like he's the corrupted version of Usopp, where in which Usopp is not really a coward, not truly. Orochi really is a coward, but then also like they both kind of like the showmanship, like they like to exaggerate things, like they like to just boast. Orochi's talking about these things and, you know, the people around him like laugh at him and don't take him seriously because they think that he's exaggerating. But in fact, like the things that he's saying are probably going to come true. So I just couldn't help but notice these similarities between the two characters. And then Oda likes using Usopp to take down characters that are notorious from a plot standpoint, not necessarily from a power standpoint, but from a story standpoint. Like in Thriller Bark, he took out Perona. In Dressrosa, he took out Sugar. You know what both Perona and Sugar were capable of doing. So I don't know. It just seems like this would be a good matchup for me. But you know, maybe just Orochi's just way too powerful because the people do say like, Lord Orochi, like you're transforming and we're still inside, which to me seems like this guy is used to destroying things around him. So let me know what you think about that possible matchup. And then also, I have to say I really like the ending of Kyoshido, just like a badass. He's just like, this is going to be a bloodbath. And he slowly begins to withdraw his katana. I still truly believe that Kyoshido is actually one of the samurai that Kinemon initially wanted to recruit, one of them being Ashura Doji, and the other one being the guy with the ponytail. I think Kyoshido is actually the third one, but we'll see. Who do you think he's going to attack? Because honestly, as of right now, Kyoshido's allegiance is very, very unclear. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Like the video if you did, I appreciate that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Overall, I thought the chapter was just average, just an average chapter of One Piece. Thanks again. Catch you guys later. Bye.